Hi, I'm Tom, and this is Lucy, and this is Kitty Help Desk. So today I want to do something a little different, and I want to review a book. But not just any book about cats. It is a book about games that you can play with your cats. It's called Brain Games for Cats by Claire Arrowsmith. It's subtitled Fun Ways to Build a Loving Bond with Your Cat Through Games and Challenges. I wanted to share this book because I often deal with clients who have difficulty finding new things to do with their cats. You know, after you've had a cat for quite some time, like Miss Lucy has been here in my life for over 6 years now. Isn't that right, Miss Lucy? 6.5 years? In that time, we have gotten to know each other very well. And now we have kind of gotten into a rut at times of kind of the things that we do. After we lost Miss Mina earlier this year, it had really changed sort of some of the ways that we interact, because previously the games that I would play with her all involved Mina in some way. I would try to sort of juggle both of them, playing both of them with them independently at the same time as giving each one, enough attention. So that was a little bit of a challenge. And now that it's just me and Lucy for the time being, we are just going to give Miss Lucy all the attention and try to give her some new things to do. So I've been doing that. But that can be difficult sometimes, especially after you've been with a cat a long time. So this book is especially good for kind of just, even if you didn't do the things that are listed in this book, you could still get some new ideas about ways to interact with your cat. Now, some of these, I will grant you, some of these are variations on a theme, like on the back here, it says, games for the yard, which I don't necessarily always agree with, but games for small areas, verbal games, traveling games, water games, I don't remember that. Games for less active cats, search games. I certainly encourage you to do seeking games. But as I was reading through this, what really impressed me and what made me want to pass this along to you is the fact that there's a lot of information here, just general information about cat behavior. Now, that's interesting, right? Because this is not a cat behavior book. It's not like titled How to Understand Your Cat or anything like that. But it really is important, if you're going to create stimulating games for your cat, that you understand them first. And in order to understand them, you need a little bit of a primer on basic cat behavior. And that's what this book serves as. So as I'm looking at it here, let's see. It's so part 2 is the games. So the first 40 pages of less than 100-page book, 96 pages. The first 40 pages, that's almost half of the book, is about cats, their history, their play motivations, their behaviors, and all those sorts of things. I found that to be especially enjoyable in the guise of a games book, because it really does walk you through some of these things that are very important to consider when you are working with your cat. Now, one thing that was a little bit unusual, not bad or anything, but just unusual, is the fact that this was created by an author who is in the UK. And so for that reason, sometimes spellings or some of the descriptions of things might vary a little bit and might not fit your local nomenclature. I didn't have a problem with that at all. And I found this to be extremely informative and communicative. And in fact, I've actually recommended this book to several of my clients already. The book is extremely attractive. It's got lots of color pictures, some nice semi-gloss paper. All of this is very nice. It obviously was laid out by someone who really cared about the presentation. And I felt like things like this, where they're describing a particular game, I felt like it was very well explained using just still graphics. In a lot of cases, you might find that these things are easier to communicate via video like this, and that's true. But, you can't always go back and reference the video. You can't dog-ear the page of a video. It just may be a little more convenient sometimes to have a book handy to kind of check these things. But in terms of that graphic design, there are some extremely tiny and thin fonts that are used. Some of them are so small that it looks like, to me, like this may have been developed to be a book that was maybe a bit larger. I don't have the best eyes in the world, clearly. But still, even for me, it was like taking off my glasses and really looking at these and trying to sort out some of this stuff. It wasn't that it was impossible to read, just that it was harder to read than it needed to be. And I think some of that is just putting a lot of information in each page and maybe shrinking things down. If they were to reissue it, I think even just a change of font in some of these smaller text passages could be really helpful at making this more legible. Because let's be honest, even though it's very nice to have large graphics, this graphic will communicate the same thing even if it were, say, 30% smaller. You would still be able to see that graphic, whereas when the text is 30% smaller, you can't read it very well. So I think that's a legitimate gripe. Otherwise, I do have a couple of content things that I didn't particularly like. She mentions, artificial pheromones in here as a positive thing. And I feel like, that's pretty well proven that it's not always positive for all cats. In fact, in my research, it seems to be that, a very small percentage of cats benefit from that. So it's not something I would ever mention as something to actually apply across the board to most cats. The other thing that I really didn't like is her use of the word command. Now, for a lot of people who work with animals, they have adopted this verbiage of a command from dog training. And from other animal training too, I guess, but largely, most popularly from dog training. And that has sort of infected other animal training methods across the board. I am very cautious when discussing with clients training methods and games, and I never use the word command, because command implies that the animal has to follow this order. It's very different than a cue. Cue is the word I prefer, because a cue is helpful. If you're cueing an actor to go on stage, the actor is in control of what they do or don't do. And you're off to the side and you go, okay, now. And that's your cue. Or the sound that is played is your cue. Or the other line that the actor delivers on stage is your cue. All of these things can tell you when it's time, but only you get to decide when you act on them. And that's really the difference, I think, between commands and cues. A command is a stern dictate from above, and a cue is a, hey, here is time to do this. Would you like to do it? And those are just really different attitudes. I know for many people that'll be splitting hairs, but I do think that we build our expectations of the world around us by the way we describe them. And words can really have strong meanings. The specific word chosen can really alter our perception of the events going on. And I think that happens in interactions with cats as well. Many people like to refer to cat caregivers as their owners. And while that is technically true in terms of the law, I really think of it as a partnership. And I know the cats don't always have a choice in the matter, but still, and I own this table. I don't really feel that I own Miss Lucy wherever she went. Because, as you can see, she can come and go as she pleases. And that's really very different from this table. This table is going to be here and it's not going to move because I own it and I put it where I want it to be. That's a very different attitude. So I would encourage Claire Arrowsmith to update her book in subsequent versions and remove the word command and replace it with the word cue. I don't think there's any downside to that. But other than those little nitpicky things, I really do think this is a great book, and I think that, you and your cat will really enjoy it. If you take the time to explore some of these games that are presented in here. A lot of them are individual cues of things that you can get your cat to do. There is some clicker training advice in here. All of the advice is top notch, and so I highly recommend this book. And it's available pretty much anywhere. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.